Hello, happy Wednesday, happy Wednesday. Hello, hello. How are you this fine Wednesday, or at least it is blazing hot here. Hello, this is absolutely my favorite part of the week. I love thinking about this all week and nerding out. I'm excited. There's that trend going around that like you need to nerd out trend, and I'm figuring out the best way to share love for Tamora Pierce. We'll wait a minute or so for people to come. Book Club Wednesdays are the best. Are the best. Hello, hello. Welcome. Happy Wednesday. I know I should have dropped something in the Discord to say it was time, but there's a notification. Hello, welcome, welcome, welcome. Just happy for the Wednesdays. If you are in the Discord, then you know that we're trying to figure out how to space these next couple of books because they start getting hefty. I think we decided on Battle Magic we're going to go in chronological order, just because it was an overwhelming vote that Melting Stones is going to be last, and that already throws it out of publication order, and if we're out of publication order, we might as well just go into chronological order. So this week, Shatterglass, and then we're going to take a week and give everyone time to read, because this one's hefty. We start getting into like the 400 page range. So I'm excited for that. Hello, welcome everyone. Oh, thank you. Thank you for sharing that. I saw that it was just shared in the Discord that we got started. I'm so excited. Hello, book club and Triss Sass. I know so many people love Triss. I love her. I ran out of her color tabs, but I have a lot of notes. I'm really excited to hear what everyone thinks. Hello, hello, welcome. Book club. And I promise all of the older book clubs are coming on YouTube. My internet is not the best, and so it just takes forever to download things, and then I get distracted, and then it's just a cycle. But let's dive into Shatterglass. You like this Triss more than the previous. I want to know more about that. For me, Chime really made a big difference in it. Having more time with her really made a big difference with it. She had a lot of character growth. She had so much character growth between the last book that focused on her and this one. This one was so different for you, it felt like it forced her to really look at society. I agree. Triss has been able to kind of keep society at a distance. I think as much as she has been isolated from the world, she also has self-isolated. And this really forced her to become more a part of it. Oh, thank you. Thank you for sharing. Yes, the upcoming, if you are just joining, we're going to take a week or two we're going to take a week in between talking about each book. That way we have more time to read and to talk about each of the books and different themes. And so in the second half of this, one of the things I want to talk about are those different open themes and for discussion. So I'm really excited for it. But I would love to know more about the difference between this Triss and the last one. So she wasn't as single-minded or angry this time around. So much growth. I thought in those sorts of ways. And then there are also moments where, if you notice, there was a moment where she was swearing in Trader Talk. And going from her other book where she refused to even learn it, and now it is just a natural reaction for her when she's frustrated. I thought that was just a brilliant, brilliant little detail. I'm so stoked for this. Also, we all know, love a map. Absolutely love a map. And this one was pretty decent. I love a grid system. I'm originally from an area that just has that is a grid system, so this was really, I could navigate this. I could envision this easy. Loved it. Absolutely loved it. Let's see. Oh, hello, welcome all. I'm so happy everyone's here. Oh, anyone listening to the audiobook am so curious how things are pronounced. I looked up a couple of the things, but there were a few I hope everyone is just going to have to hang with me on it. You like that it finally gave her and Nico a lot of one-on-one time. I agree with that. I do too. It was well past time for that. It was really good to see Nico as more on that one-on-one teacher. One of the things I loved the most was his trust in Triss. And I thought we really saw this at the end. You had trust and belief in Triss. That ending and everything that he said to her was just perfect. I think it was the sort of validation from an adult that she's been seeking most of her life. Tammy went full on Tolkien with making her languages in here. I know! It's so brilliant in the different ways. One thing that I did for the whole setting of Triss's book, in other books, particularly I think it was Briar's and Daja's a bit, she has a culture that she really focuses on and did research behind. Clearly, for me, she had a caste system here. It was really reminiscent to some of Hindu or Indian culture, but I didn't see anything in the acknowledgments, or I just did some very basic research into it. But I thought that it was really interesting, the lack of research that was mentioned in this book when it built such a deeply rich world that had a lot of ties to things that we do see in modern day. So I thought that was really interesting. Oh, the Tolkien, yes. I would love to. I want to do a deep dive into the different languages because it keeps unfolding. A lot of these deeper, richer topics, I want to finish the Circle of Magic before I truly explore them. That way I don't talk myself into a corner. But languages are such a huge one. And I would love to see how they all intersect. Oh, thank you for sharing the Discord link. If you enjoy a good book club, come join us on the Discord. You can see Tammy taking a glassblowing class just for this book. I would not put that past her. She does notice in the acknowledgments that I have in my edition, she notes that there's one person in particular that she goes to when she talks about crafts and different kinds of trades and crafting. And she has, I think, a couple of books that she really referred to for it. And so, yeah, she does a lot of research on things, and she does research and talk about other cultures quite a bit in her other acknowledgments, but she didn't in this one. So I thought it was an interesting thing to bring up. You love how they mention other parts of the world, especially for those we've been to before. I completely agree. I really love the moments where she talks about the wind coming from different directions and bringing the different smells. And there was a part where she felt Briar coming from a particular direction. And I love that it connected us not only to those lands, but also to the individuals who are there. And it kind of situated where everyone else is at that time. Oh, you're cutting it a little close. You just finished the book. Congratulations. Good. Right in under the wire. Welcome. Welcome. It says that there were some comments that were filtered, and I don't know how to find those, but please feel free to write them again. I don't know why I do know why it automatically filters things. And honestly, I have not really needed it in this community. Everyone has been absolutely phenomenal. So we're still, if you just joined, we are talking Shatterglass. Finished it out. There were so many good little bits in this. But let's see. Oh, I loved. Can we talk about Triss and her and Keith? I think it is Keith. But yes. Can we talk about Triss and Keith and how that makes perfect sense for her? She would not, when I first started the book, I have a note in here that says that Triss would not be able to handle a child, that she is too angry, she is not in control of herself enough to handle a child, and then wouldn't you know, by the end of it, I am completely proven wrong. You cut it too close and only got through half today when you were at work. Oh no! I'm so glad that you remember it for the most part. Because this was a very satisfying ending. Such a good student for Triss. Oh, you've been rearranging your room. You were supposed to have a bunch of days off. Keith is only 20. I think Keith is only 20. And then Dama, I think Dama's a little older. But Keith is only 20, but I think it's a perfect pairing for Triss. I think Keith's age, he's able to go not up against her, but is able to meet her where she is. And I thought that the lightning and his paralysis was a really interesting choice that I think could have been explored more, but I thought it was a really interesting starting point for the character. You always envisioned him as older when you read it before. There's certain characters that I'm like, how old are you actually? You got yes, we did get alternative perspectives again with this book, and it wasn't from the bad guy, which I liked. There was a moment where I was like, oh no, is it Keith? But they cleared that really well. My thought for real, I'm curious to hear who everyone thought was the criminal in the end. Like, who did it? Who did you spend the whole book being like, I'm suspicious of you? You wish progress happened in real life as quickly as it does in her books. I completely agree. I think that's a topic all on its own. And I think we also see that in some of her books that it doesn't happen as quickly. There's a push-pull. We see that in Kel's book in particular, I think. Once he gets over himself and sees her more as just a kid. Yes, funny you mention that. Because I think that moment, at least what I saw it as, is when she fails. When Triss absolutely fails at something is when he sees her for being more than just a kid. And that was such an ingenious choice. Keth, I don't know how it is pronounced. Keith or Keith? Keth. I'm gonna struggle now. I'm just gonna double think on all of it now. Keth? Maybe. There's no official audio for Coldfire Shatterglass, but you can find computer audio versions. Key short E. I wish I were able to interpret that. I really do. Keith. He's from the northern region. Kethlem. I feel like I could do that one. I completely agree. I think it's weird when adult characters, when they're 14s, are now kids. There's just a very weird age gap. But I think Tamora Pierce does that on purpose. It's part of that young adult fantasy realm. It's part of why it's set in a medievalish era. When I was a bookseller, one of the things I used to talk to parents and children, I used to talk all the time about books where fantasy is an opportunity for children and even adults to encounter situations in a lower stakes setting. Like, they can encounter tricky situations in a lower stakes setting and see how other people deal with it, deal with the consequences. I think that I've even had parents and adults who would come in and ask for books where there is absolutely no evil in it, no bad. And those are tricky, to not have books with evil or conflict. But I think there's points and reasons for having conflict, and being able to have these deeper discussions about it makes it all the more richer, all the deeper. And so I do appreciate that, yes, these children, because they are children, feel very young to us, especially being older. I would argue I did not feel like they were particularly young when I was that age. I was like, oh, you're dealing with some different things I'm dealing with, but I didn't think that they were particularly young for dealing with it. For those who didn't, I thought it was, Yaganasi. When I first read it, I don't know. That is something I need to look back up. Okay, so there are the different sections on YouTube. Hello, welcome. So glad that you're here. Matilda. You're listening to The Circle Opens on audio. It's interesting to hear the pronunciation. I'm sure it is. I'm sure it's very different than what I've been trying. There are a couple that I intentionally looked up, but I did not get to the audio versions of many of them. Pre-industrial, yes. Young adult and pre-industry society, you were an adult long before 18. Absolutely. And I would still argue there are parts of the world where that is still very, very much true. He's from Tamora, near where Daja is from in her last book. Yes, he is a foreigner to this area anyway. Keth. I think Keth. Keth, because I think his longer name is Kethlin. So I'm going to go with that. Sorry about the key. Fantasy audiobook channel has some of her books for listening. Ooh, thank you for that. I'll have to dig into that. I'm still very much in a transitional phase, so I don't have a lot of listening time, but I need to get into it. You do get that they've matured faster because of life stuff. Yeah, oh yes, absolutely. And I think fantasy is that opportunity to kind of but really to explore that area in a way that is much more difficult in fiction, in history. I think there are a lot of really good opportunities in order to relate it back to your own life or what's going on in the world. It's interesting how much Tamora is being brought up in this series. There were a lot of places that was brought up earlier. There were a lot of mentions of other places, which made me really wonder about like their trade economy, and that's not necessarily something Triss would be focused on when we got so much of that in other books, but just the way that the culture has been exchanged here. At one point in time, they talk about how it's like a 2 or several month ride away from Winding Circle. So that's just so expansive. Did they get Shatterglass uploaded? That's where you listen to Street Magic. Ooh, I definitely need to check that out. My library app has been pretty faithful so far about having the ones that I've needed. I think I'm still on the wait list for... Maybe it is Battle Magic. We'll see. You always felt like it was planned to set up for Will of the Empress. I'm excited to get to Will of the Empress. We'll get there. Yes, in the acknowledgments, the circle opens as a result of reading about the acts and psychology of serial criminals. Yes, and she mentions a couple of books like Anne Burgess and just a lot of the foundational books in that series that were coming out at the time. And I think it's really reflective of the type of books that she's writing right now. Particularly, I think we saw it a lot with The Fire, Daja, all of them. There have been elements of that. I absolutely see it. Yes! Jump on! I hope you have a great night too. So glad that you were able to join. Yes, so let's see, what else? Who has good quotes? There were some good quotes that were put into the Discord earlier today for Shatterglass. One of the ones that I want to pull out is, a bad name is just a fart with consonants. I thought that was lovely. New learning never hurt anybody. I love that. That's a good one. Yes, they were too long. I appreciate you putting them on Discord. I need to put some of mine on Discord too. That's part of my homework. Is putting them on. Triss and her hair. We talked a little bit about Daja and her hair for her book, and when we had a discussion about whether or not it is white woman writing, whether or not she's doing justice to her characters of color, I thought it was so interesting that hair comes up so much. The white girl braids, yes. Not just that, but as a literal source of power for Triss. And what an interesting choice to give it to Triss, to give that element to Triss. So I thought it was interesting. It makes sense with the type of hair that they've been building, that Tamora Pierce has talked about this whole time. But I thought it might have been a missed opportunity, even though Daja already has the cane. It was just a very glaring, like, oh, hey, what's going on? Let's see, I'm catching up on these. White Girl writes, hello, welcome, welcome. Favorite quotes. Post your favorite quotes. Post the entire manuscript into the chat. Love it. Welcome, welcome. I love the idea of it, and I can so vividly see it, and I can so vividly see her braiding and unbraiding. There were so many moments I was like, Triss, you are overdoing it. You need to practice what you preach and what you're trying to teach your student right now. Let's see. Her mage kit hair. You think this series really gives people an example of childhood friends split up by life but still affecting each other? I completely agree with you. I think they think about each other all the time, and there's an element of they do think about a future together, but it's not guaranteed. Like, they know they want to see them again. They know that they miss each other. They really have such a strong connection, not just through their magic, but through their friendship and their past and shared history. And so I love the way that they talk about each other. The magic it being in her hair was wicked. It is so wicked. You always picture Triss's hair as being like Viking braids. Yes, I absolutely think that in order to have Triss's type of hair is one that would do very well with braids, I think. I completely agree. And she talks about all the different layers for it. It was really an amazing part. And I love Chime, and I love the way everybody interacted. You don't remember the quote exactly, but Triss being in a romantic. Ooh, I might have to go back and look for that one. Oh, here we go. If I have to catch a man for a husband, then I don't want one. Yes. It's kind of a running theme with Triss. Yes, I do really enjoy Triss. Reading as an adult, you love how they really do act like teenagers. There are absolutely moments, and you can tell that they're teenagers who understand the burden that they have been given, the power that they have. Even, I think Triss in particular has really shown her growth with her power, and her relationship to her power, going from being so afraid of her power to then like forcing not forcing her power, but forcing others to see that same power within themselves and to not be afraid of that power. It was a really brilliant move. But you do, like, they're teenagers. The practice what you preach thing. Yeah, I don't think that's Triss's forte. I don't think that she's the best practice what you preach. As she did sleep for like 5 days and then stayed in bed for another week after it was all said and done. And then I wonder, does she have to go and then collect all of that power again? Does she have to wait for another storm? Does she have to travel to gather these winds again? I'm so curious. Stubborn, thy name is Triss. Yes, it is. Thank you. I did change my own nail color. I do love black. I'm trying to grow them out, so I fidget. I'm a fidgeter. Hello, welcome. Yes, they are more mature, but still young and learning. That is so true. The character arc is arcing, as they say. There were a bunch of secondary characters in Shatterglass that I absolutely loved. Just learning more about, the baby having ambient magic, or not ambient magic, collegiate knowledge magic. Very excited for that. There were a couple of times that were very Becca. I think there were a lot of ideas, particularly with policing and justice, that we're seeing played out that I think really, really show up in Becca's books. Even the phrase, like, dog his tail when talking about hunting down the murderer. So that was I loved that. I love the quote, get an education, but you won't like what you've learned. I'll give you an education, but you won't like what you've learned. I'm so glad that you finally caught the live. Welcome, Morgan. Triss is more of a do as I say, not as I do. I completely agree. She's finally getting control over herself-ish. Why would she expect any of her actions and words to align? Okay, so that is your understanding regarding her power. That she does have to, like, That's your understanding regarding her restocking her power. She does have to, like, go around. That would be such a great excuse to travel. Oh, I'm so sorry, Nico. I really do have to come with you to this mage conference that we're relocating because it's on an island and you see the sea breeze. It needs to, I have a braid right here for it. I'd be all about that. I think that's such a great idea. I think this is when you really see the burden of Triss's power. I agree. The burden of her power, the lengths she has to go to in order to tuck it in, to keep it under control, and to see it in others. And to help control it in others. I think it was just one of those, through teaching we learn. Triss is 14. We have to remember that. And so she has to mess up and fail. And that's what makes her more of an adult in everyone's eyes. I love it. I love it. Except for the being exhausted part. She even calls out Nico at the end. Shatterglass is one of your favorites. I would love to know more about why. I thought it was so well paced in particular. Like when we talk about writing, each one of them there have been one thing about the writing in particular that I loved. The pacing of this one I thought was really phenomenal. There was always something like a next step. It would like speed up and then we would hold. Very good. I really thought the pacing was nice. It explained the difference between the academic and ambient magic much clearer in this book. I agree with that. I thought that particularly that bit when Chime was created at the beginning and he was pulling in all of the different kinds of magic, that really helped explain it more. And it gave that like microscopic view, and so you had the specific different kinds that were being pulled in, and then the macro view of like what can happen when all of those combine with Chime. You like Triss talking about how her magic isn't something she can sell or make for trade as easily. I agree. Yes, that was such a good point of like weather magic is too unpredictable. She could do battle magic, which made me immediately think about battle magic. Battle magic. Here we are. But I don't, like they said that she's not really up for that. I thought the lightning, she could totally make trinkets and things. Her learning glass blowing at the end, I thought was a really good idea. I think she would be a good advisor. I think eventually she would be a good teacher. In that way, she reminds me a little bit of Rosethorn. But I'm really interested to see how her story unfolds. She doesn't want to kill people. Harking back to the pirates, yes. Being an OP comes with drawbacks, yes. Even being a teenager, you respect Triss for her control. I completely agree with you. She's learned so much control. And you love that she leaned into the murder mystery. I completely agree. She was in. She was all in. And then at the end, I loved the confrontation. This is one of those moments where I really love it when other characters talk about the main character and you get to see how they see that character. And so when Nico said to Keth, like, we need to go. If you want to question him, we need to go now so Triss doesn't kill him. In that moment, I was like, oh, this is how you see her. You trust that she can handle herself to the point where you need to go and actually talk her out of this. That was another such a good moment too, of like, he may deserve this, but you don't. That one hit hard. Rereading, you have more respect for Triss because she knows that people will covet her power for battle. Yes, absolutely. She has a lot of foresight for that. And it also makes me wonder what conversations she's already had with people. That not only just the actions, the boats, the battles she's already been a part of, but what other conversations, like, has she been privy to, or have other people tried to corner her in? There wasn't many flashback scenes in this, and in most of the other books, there's a flashback to a big moment or a memory, or something that really, really talks up the power. But off the top of my head, I don't remember memory being a big part of this one. You love that with all the circle opens, Tammy showed you a different type of criminal mindset. Absolutely. And she did her research on it too. I wonder if there's anything she would rewrite about it now. If there are any pieces of it, even as our understanding of criminal mentality has changed, I wonder if there's anything she would add or change at all. Shatterglass is such interesting magical entanglement and such growth for Triss. You love Triss. Yes, yes. Okay, that makes a lot of sense why you like it so much. The magical entanglements are really cool. That's one of my favorite parts about the Circle Open series so far, is how all of the different magic combines to create something new and fantastic. You love it when she called Kath my buck. Like Rosethorn, yes! Because I think she's not a warm lark figure, but she absolutely, I see Rosethorn and I see some Crane in her. I thought they got along splendidly. And just there are moments of her I could see. She has a reason things should be done in a certain way. She did remind you of Rosethorn in her teaching and strong but gentle touch. Yes, absolutely. Assassin, sociopath, fire, arsonist, serial, yes. Absolutely. They have Tamora Pierce dabbling in it all. And I think she uses this series too to explore certain ideas, particularly in this criminal realm, that we really, really see play out in Becca's books. I think a lot of her research really leads up to this. Even things like in a lot of Becca's set in Bloodhound, Tamora Pierce writes a lot about how she didn't think anybody would care about counterfeit coins. So, but we've already kind of done a little bit of counterfeit coins over here. And so I love it. I love how we see these little moments that we know are going to show up in some of the other books, these ideas. Thank you again for dropping the Discord. So if you enjoy book club, come join us on the Discord. We have a great time. There's a bunch of great channels on there. You think Triss has a better understanding with her merchant background for what is marketable. I completely agree. I think, yes. And I also think that can be limiting in certain ways. She can see what is marketable, but she might not be able to take the risk on herself, if that makes sense. I think it was Kath who pushed for the novelty lightning to be sold. Triss wasn't the one who identified that was a good something to be sold, but she was really she was savvy afterwards. So I think that it's a both and with Triss. Also, people have their reasons for doing terrible things, so you have to be vigilant. Yes, they do. So in this, when I was like, ooh, we have another murder mystery on our hands, I immediately was like, okay, so it can't be I don't think Tammy would do somebody really close to the main character a couple books in a row. I don't think that would be what she would be doing. But, so my thought was the first character that we meet in here, and I'm not even going to try to... I feel so bad now. I should have really looked up all of these names. I need to recommit and do better about it. But the first character that Triss meets along the road, who's not allowed to talk to her, she's from the lowest caste, the Faco Mathin. That was wrong. That was so wrong, and I'm sorry for trying. But I thought it was that first person the whole time, and so I was kind of right, but not really. The patterns are there. Like, it's tempting to justify what suits you. Absolutely. And I think we see different characters justify what suits them too. Even as Triss is standing there with the culprit literally in the ground, there are different people telling her to do different things. And so it just very, very much depends on what perspective you have. Just thought of a headcanon for the 4 in their 30s, but it has spoilers. We'll share in 2 books. I'm so excited for that. Thank you. I appreciate it. We're so close. We are so close with Circle of Magic. I'm so happy with everybody. And with that, I'm going to catch up on these comments. I have comments I'm going to go through. I'm going to catch up on the comments. We're going to wrap up our discussion of Shatterglass. We're going to jump into our discussion of Tamora Pierce for the second half of things, because I know there are people who join halfway through. And part of that we'll talk about the plan moving forward, because the next ones get thicker too. So I'm going to catch up on these comments. Give me your last Shatterglass thoughts, and then think ahead for all things Tamora Pierce. Rarely does someone see themselves as a villain in their own stories. Yes! And I think we see that in some of the different POVs that Tamora Pierce has done, particularly Daja's book. I really enjoyed that alternative POV from our villain at the time. I'm sorry, these catching up on the comments, y'all. Lots of books will have a bad guy who loves doing evil. Young books will have a bad guy who loves doing evil. Yes, and I think there are different ways that we see that, we don't see that. It's all part of the what is evil and going out in the world. Tamora Pierce does I think she does a really good job of towing the line between, so here are the atrocities of the world, and shielding for a particular audience, writing it for a particular audience. You created a D&D character based on Triss, an aired and Scythian druid with tenuous magical control. I love it. Is there lightning? Lots of lightning involved. Sandry can do the big risk. Triss has the minutia down. I completely agree. She does. Sandry has the privilege to do some big risks, but I think Daja said in her book that she would even prefer Triss to do some of the haggling and trader work. Good at business, but not necessarily creative. Yes, I think that she has her own form of creativity when it comes to her power, putting it all together. Triss takes great pride in being practical. Absolutely. I think that's a key part of who she is. You're putting in the Discord because it's too long for the comment limit. Please, yes. I hop on the Discord after hopping on here, and so I can't wait to get on here. I'm not tech savvy enough. One of these days I'll have a setup where I can have the nice camera and see comments and respond and do all of the things, but right now it's just you, me, and the phone. The whole cast system concept was so interesting too. Yes! And that was another thing that I would love other people's thoughts on, because she does so much research, but it wasn't mentioned doing research on the cast system at all here. And I think it was something that Tammy subconsciously or consciously had to have drawn from. You think her practicality is thrown back to the trauma from her family. I agree. I think that's part of it too. I also think, and there is a line, I don't know if it's in this book, but one of the other books. No, it is in this book, because I pull it out. There's a line where Triss says, it's on page 6 of my thing. Triss loves plans because her power is so disorganized. And so it seems like she's trying to find control wherever she can, because the rest of her power is so out of control. And that's something I can absolutely relate to. True, and at this point she could see it as reclaiming her trauma. Yes, you agree. It's always how they contribute to the family. Yes, absolutely. Let's see. I love how there's so many comments. I appreciate everyone's patience with me again. These are so great. I love hearing everyone's perspective. Very in the obsession with the cleanliness and purity. Yes, in Daja's book especially. That shows up a lot, but I also think that shows up particularly at this time in discussions around femininity and in discussions around feminism as a whole. The purity of all kinds, of all different kinds, was very in the forefront of the zeitgeist at the time. And so I could see how it would show up in these books. Class system frustrated you like it did Triss in the book. I completely agree. If you haven't read Caste, I think is the book, I highly recommend it. It's a nonfiction book that dives into caste system in India and then really talks about the American caste system. A majority of my audience are in the US, and so I highly, highly recommend it. She always made herself understand what they did to her. Yes, I think she really she tries to rationalize it all away. And I understand that. I think that makes sense. I think all of the kids in this circle have had different kinds of trauma, and they all handle it in very different ways. You love Nico crashing out when he found out they magically stripped the scene of the crime so he can't scry the past. Yes! And, oh, could you imagine? There has to be some sort of, like, protocol. But, yeah, that sort of tension between what you think you should do scientifically and what's done culturally could be so frustrating and so difficult. And so to even have it when there are lives on the line, I thought they did a good job of really trying to do a push-pull there. Cannot handle the lack of logic, yes. As someone who is in a true crime family, you were crashing out to. More than any of the others, Triss's future is uncertain. What occupation after uni? Yes. This was so wild to have Triss in so many different roles. She did think about it in different ways, and I can't wait to see what it unfolds for her. Sadly, Tammy has confirmed she will not be writing Triss's next book after all. No. I know, I need to look more into that. She just doesn't have the it in her at the moment. And that I choose to see as an opening for fan fiction. I choose to see as an opening for the community to continue. Advisor to the Duke. Yes, I love that. That's such a great idea, because I think she would be a great advisor. I said that. I think she'd be a great advisor. I think she'd be able to go with head to head with the right people. I think she'd be able to earn respect. You have some great headcanons, but I'll have to wait a few books. Oh, we're so close. We're so close, y'all. No. Sadly, her health are making it hard for her to write. Yes. Or to Duchess Sandry. I think she would be a great advisor to Duchess Sandry, too. And that would keep them together. I want them to come together again. That's the thing. I want that so badly. Makes her heir. Yes. Reading your mind. Guess you'll make your debut in fanfic with writing a Triss at library. Do it. Please. Please, please, please. I would love to read it. That would be amazing. Would you recommend Tammy's books when you were a bookseller, and if so, which ones? I would recommend all of Tammy's books when I was a bookseller. Yes, actually, I think that Tammy's books are one of the reasons why I got the job as a bookseller. I went back to my hometown after I lived and studied abroad in Kenya, and then I was living in DC for a while, and then I came home to the middle of nowhere, and it was the only bookstore within, I think it was like an hour and a half drive in any direction, was just the Barnes & Noble. And so I applied for the job, and during my interview, they of course asked me what I would recommend, what my favorite books were, what I would highly recommend, and I talked about Tamora Pierce, and I specifically talked about Song of the Lioness, and the person who was interviewing me just absolutely lit up and started talking about how she hasn't had those in the bookstore in a little while, but if somebody were willing to come in and be enthusiastic and try to sell them, she would be so excited about it. And then I got the call that I got the job like 2 days later. And so I really genuinely think that because I said Tamora Pierce was my favorite author and recommended Song of the Lioness, I got my book selling job. And so I hand sold as many as I possibly could. I always kept I always kept the first of the Song of the Lioness in stock. And when I could, I would do the Immortals, and Circle of Magic was in kids, though. So I would keep just one of those in stock. And then I would have, once I got people hooked, though, they would come back. They would come back over and over again. So, loved it. Loved it, loved it. Yes, I completely agree. Triss would be a great advisor to any of them. Let's see. I'm going to catch up on these comments, then we're going to shift to all things Tamora Pierce. You would love to see Triss do some performance with her lightning, like pyrotechnics. Yes, I think that would be really cool. I tried to think about all of the different things that lightning is in. One of the things that came up, there's just so many moments with like lightning in life. If she got really detailed welding, and I think she could collaborate with Daja really well on that. they could make different things, or thinking about like neuroscience. I could see Tris getting really into neuroscience and brain and electrical activity. Now that her control is good, I would let her have some fun with it. Yes. I'm so glad I've reignited your love for these books, Mia. I would love to see them older as established great mages and how people would react to their stories. I completely agree, because already they have such a history in all of these. And it would be great to see the next generation and then have them kind of show up in the different ways like how we have in the other series. Awesome story. Thank you for sharing. Oh, my pleasure. I loved being a bookseller. Create electricity. That's such a good idea. And then from electricity, so many things can go from there. I think that would be a great idea. Fantastic. All right, we are well over our halftime, but that's okay because I can go for a long time. But let's shift over to all things Tamora Pierce. I'm going to open the floor to whatever you want to pop in. I have a couple of questions, of course, as always prepared, but I want to see what you brought to the table first today. And then I do have a couple of just like book club updates that I'm excited for. And a big welcome to everybody who's joining. I know we're a little halfway through. We're finally getting on to all things Tamora Pierce. Let's see here. You laugh every time you get a reaction along the lines of, "You're those kids from Emmeline." Yes. Their stories have spread. And I was just thinking that. You wonder if there were bards in their universe. I was just thinking that. I was like, I wonder what songs are sung about them. That is a big complaint I have about most modern fantasy as a whole genre. Where are the songs? The Hobbit is like half song. I need lots of italicized stanzas. That'd be just in general. If you want to throw in a recipe, you would be my favorite, just as a note to all authors. We need a master harper up in here. We do. You may have convinced your tattoo artist to try Song of the Lioness. Yes. That makes me curious, do you have any wild times that you've recommended Tamora Pierce? Like, I recommended it all the time when I was a bookseller. I feel like I have made it as an influencer because I have influenced my cool older cousin to reread these again. So, like, life fulfilled. But who else? Because I have influenced my cool older cousin to reread these again. So, like, life fulfilled. But who else have you convinced to read any of Tamora Pierce's fantastic oeuvre? Let's see, I'm going back on these comments. I love how everyone is so engaged. And how everyone assumes their teachers just told them what to do. Yes! And they're able to navigate those power dynamics really interestingly. I thought the way that they magic the medallions so they would only remember it when they needed to was an interesting in-between. And Tris was very funny that she was like, I always know it's there. If you remember correctly, Anne McCaffrey has full scores and songs in some of her books. Yes! Just another reason I need more of her in my life. I posted the video earlier about the books I recommended if you enjoyed Danes. And honestly, I could do so many of each of these recommendation videos. I have so many more for each of them, but it works to keep the videos shorter. And so, but Anne McCaffrey, I need it on the list. The other side note to this is I have started a spreadsheet of all of these recommendations that I'm getting in the comments on Discord, in the comments on here on the live. It will not be the perfect spreadsheet, and I will miss plenty of recommendations, but it's gotten to the point where my TBR is longer than my lifespan, and I need to be able to go through and sort. And so please, join the Discord, add some book recommendations, because those are going to be in it too. Anne McCaffrey has been recommended so many times to me now. I forgot which particular series it is though. So I'm excited to read her books. We meet an ambient mage who is a bard. Okay. Okay. Fantastic. Music, ambient, that makes so much sense. But I wonder then, is that in the sound waves? How large, how small, what kind of scale? I'm so excited for that. Modern fantasy is missing the essential art of camp. I completely agree. Completely agree. Where are the Tom Bombadils? Just anywhere. I need a character that holds everything. Yes, I completely agree with you. The art of camp. There's a lot of forced whimsy, I feel. Music magic would be everything. I completely agree. Songs and poems are hard to write versus prose to you. Yes, they are difficult to write. I completely agree. I think I have seen some books and fantasies that have like prophecies. Maybe a song here or there. Red Rising. I love the Red Rising books. Yes, I am. I'm in that camp. And I loved the song because a lot of times I do love a frivolous song. Well, I do love a frivolous song, but I also love when a song is really deeply embedded in a story. And I think fan fiction songs, stay with me here. We have fan fiction writing. I feel like Tamora Pierce's work is ripe for a bard of our own to come along. Ambient sound mage would be Shook Power. So powerful. Yes. It so would be. I mean, sound is so powerful. I wonder, like, recreating voices. You can make sound so loud. You could use it as a projectile. There's so many things. So many things. You finally get your sister into reading, but she's not a fantasy girly. Oh. At least she's reading. Fantasies. It took me forever to realize that fantasy was not a genre that absolutely everyone enjoyed. I thought everyone loved and read and watched and completely immersed themselves in fantasy growing up. Example. You dragged a few of your friends through cosplay. One of them plans to join us when we get to Tortal. Yes! We're getting there. We're getting to Tortal. I'm putting together a calendar. At this point, it looks like we are going to start Becca's books the 1st of October. It looks like Tortal will officially start in October. So if you do have friends, you're thinking about that, pop it in the schedule. We'll have an actual calendar out soon because I love a calendar just like in here. I love a spreadsheet. I see you. I also love a spreadsheet. Do I keep up with the spreadsheets well? No. Do I love making them? Yes. So this will be a test of wills, but it's something I'm really excited about. So I think it'll definitely happen. With extra formulas, we'll try. Oh, you're waiting starting Throne of Glass, but you don't know if you want to give into that whole universe. I have so many thoughts on that. So many thoughts on that if you want them. I'm going to catch up on these comments. Caffrey, all of the Pern books. Okay. Better than all the Pern books. Big recommend from you. Okay. I'm going to make a physical note of that. And McCaffrey. Because it just needs to happen. I'm in the middle of a couple of books. I'm doing Gideon the Ninth and Theory of Water, as well as soon Battle Magic. Color-coded. Oh, I love a color-coded spreadsheet. Oh, I'm also considering a color-coded calendar because I love color-coding. They always make me check this live. Perfect. For music magic, anyone read Grandmaster of Demonic Cultivation? No, I have not, but that sounds... I'm already in. I would love to know more about it. Throne of Glass can stand all on it. It is beyond brilliant. can stand all on its own. It is beyond brilliant. It's very well written. Not like well written. I have a lot of complicated, it's like water. I talk about it like fantasy water on my brain. Little Miss Perfect is a wonderful example of a fan song. Oh, I don't know if I know Little Miss Perfect. I'll have to check that out. Also, Mads Buckley has a number of fan songs that are amazing and often sad. I mean, if you're going to be moved enough by a book to write a song about it, I can see how there would be a lot of sad ones. Okay, Mads Buckley. I'm going to go through these comments after this live too, because I love all of these recommendations. These are perfect. Oh, yes, please. Sons of Destiny by Jean Johnson. A little more old school romance, but awesome. I don't mind old school romance. I devour books. Devour. I'm at 187 right now for just this year. This is an attempt to slow myself down. Let's see. So have we decided on which books we're reading next? Yes, we are going to do in chronological order, which I believe next is Battle Magic. And then Will of the Empress, and then Melting Stones. It was very clear people wanted Melting Stones last. And for me, the question was chronological order or publication order, because I'm a publication order. That's just my default, my go-to. If they wanted to write it in a different order, they would have. Sometimes. I don't feel that way as all the time, but once we established Melting Stones was going to be last, and there was a tie. That was the other big part, is that there was a tie between how to do it. And so, in order to break the tie, we're doing Battle Magic. That seems oddly fitting for Becca. You love a calendar. Do you need reminder alerts for your calendar? Yes. Oh, completely agree. The starting in October. I agree. I think the starting in October is really good, and then the way for Becca's books, and then the way that it works out, since we're not skipping book club. Book club will still meet, but we won't talk about the book every week. We'll talk about it every other week, and so the Mastiff we'll talk about on, I think, the 29th, right around Halloween. And I want to talk about death around that time too, of how Tamora Pierce looks at death. So that's the other piece of this. And so we're going to start talking about these books every other week. And so next week, I would like to use that time to talk about all things Tamora Pierce. And when I say all things Tamora Pierce, I mean it's open to all things Tamora Pierce, but I would love to focus in on a theme or two for us to talk about. And then have the week after that be when we talk about Battle Magic, and we can spend the whole time talking about Battle Magic. And then the week after that will be another theme that's open to all things Tamora Pierce, and we will flip-flop back and forth like that. That way we can extend. Not only does it give us more time to read these hefty books, but I'm selfish, and I want to extend how long we have book club going. I love hanging out with everyone, so this will give us more time. It'll let us talk about more things. There will be a calendar. In the Tortall universe, there's a bard who makes songs about Alana's adventures. Yes, there is. And she gets sung about, and the cat gets sung about too. I need more of it. You ended up making a spreadsheet for all of your favorite fanfics and books that you own or want to buy. Oh, I bet that's a very satisfying spreadsheet. I hope you update it. Because my problem is I just don't update it. I love making them, and then I struggle to update them. That seems like a really great one. Love TLT. You feel like you're on two sides of fantasy. One side being Tamora Pierce on the other, Patricia Biggs on the other. Ooh, I feel like I have read Patricia Biggs, but I'm blanking on names for the moment of what book recs. If you have any book recommendations, please throw them in the chat. I would love to know. Absolutely love to know. And here's the other piece of this, and this is something that I would love to move over to the Discord as well if you don't have thoughts on it at this very minute, but we're going to talk themes. And so I have a huge list of different kinds of themes I would love to talk about for Tamora Pierce on these in-between weeks that give us more breathing room, just because they're fun. And so, but I would love these big ideas for us to talk about. We've done some of the ones about what if we were to do longer form YouTube videos, and I do promise I'm doing them. I'm getting there eventually, but I am very much still in transition. So, so I'll get there. And I am working on them. I have scripts. I need to do a little bit more of the editing. I need to work on that flow. But I appreciate everyone's patience. It's something I am working on. But I would love to hear more about what topics you want to talk about like this when we're in live together. Well, after we finish Tammy, can we move on to Anne? There's like 24 books in the Burton universe. Keep book club forever. I would love to keep book club forever. One of the reasons why I started that spreadsheet of the recommendations is because there have been a couple of times where people have recommended a book and then said, like, if you do this book or series next, I would show up for book club. And I would love to keep this book club going. And so if there are other series or things that you think would be a natural transition after Tortall, please let me know, because this has been so much fun. I want to keep book club going for as long as possible, although I never really want to give up Tammy. So, The Singing by Alison Croghan has only the Bards and Elementals. Ooh, okay. You concur, you want book club to keep, me too. Let's keep book club going. You were on a good roll updating fanfiction spreadsheet when something updated, but now you've been slacking. Yes. I was just reading, earlier today, I was reading the Silver Lake fanfic that was recommended by Sanders here. I'm working through it now, and I always have complicated feelings about fanfic. And mostly my main feeling is I'm just so happy to be consuming it. But it's been great. It's been great. Just a nice trudge through. I'm hanging out with Kel. How many boxes of books did I move? Ooh, okay. So at this point, this all fit into one medium-sized box. These books are not, most of them are not mine. They are my best friend in the whole entire world, whom I'm staying with. I'm co-opting this background. I have read a lot of the books that are back here, though. My books are still at my last place in the other state. They'll come with me eventually, I think. I do have a video, though, because I'm still back in the archives. I haven't had a chance to film a lot here. So I have a bunch in the archives that aren't necessarily Tortall related that I will be putting out. I'm so sorry, y'all. But one of them is about the last time I packed up my library, and it was 29 big boxes of books and a couple of rolling suitcases. It was massive, an absolute massive move. So I am going to put out a video about that soon, I think. So I appreciate everyone's patience as I'm going through the dregs of my drafts to try to post, to make sure I'm posting every day. If we're open to Space Odyssey, ooh, I do. First of all, I love Odyssey. Getting more and more into space. Highly recommend Bujoled. I definitely pronounced that incorrectly, but I am in for it. An Eternal Book Club. Yes. The Misfits Book Club. We're all misfits here. You started and failed. Ooh, let me get back to these. You started and failed at keeping a fanfic tracker for 5 times. Yes. I've given up. There was at no point was that ever an option for me. I just all in. I'll read the same thing 4 or 5 times. If I like it, for a while I just had tabs. Just tons of tabs open. We'll have to do a yearly reread, at least one of Tammy's series to satisfy the addiction. I already reread. And it seems like there are so many people who reread these books too. It wouldn't be out of pocket for us to do that. You bought a fancy journal to keep a fanfic log, and you just haven't used it. Ugh. But the act of buying the fancy journal is so much fun. Then I too have a fancy journal that I'm just carrying it around. We could always finish this read through, then do it again. I was we might just start right back at the beginning again. That would be, I don't think I'd be burnt out. We should do Pern next, similar to with the Interconnectedness series and Same World, Bouncing Time. Okay, we have a couple votes for Pern. I like that. I like that. We're still like way ahead of ourselves. We're like months down the road. But I love this. I love this. Getting yourself to write in a new, nice journal is always the struggle. It is. And does anyone else leave a page or two, like right at the beginning, just in case you need to go back and write the perfect title page or an index or something? Because that is also one of my big struggles, is leaving just that first little bit blank. You sold a ton of your collection a few moves back and still grieve the loss. Oh, absolutely. Draft type. All right, I'm catching up on these comments, y'all. Bujold. Oh, there are some words. Green Burblab. There are some words in here that I am going to pronounce incorrectly. Bujold does the Vorkskogen saga, and it's one of your absolute faves. Love it. Okay, I'm going to take these comments. This spreadsheet is happening. The next couple of weeks, I actually have a little bit of stability in my life. Fingers crossed, I'll be able to get some more of these, like the fun things done. Squire every year. So Squire's your reread every year. I'm interested what everybody else's reread is every year, because my like every year without fail, Alana, The Immortals, and then I pretend like I don't do Kel, but I always do end up doing Kel. Those are the ones that were just always. Odyssey, your epic fandom has been triggered. Like the Odyssey, like Homer Odyssey, because it's been Emily Watson. I have not done her translation yet, and I am so excited. That's like on my number one need to get, but I can't. I'm not going to do it online. I love the audio. We'll nerd out. You started a Fable, and it's easy to keep track of books that you actually like been keeping up with. I have not tried Fable. I'm on Storygraph, and I love a data nerd. Just give me some data visualizations. But I do want to look into Fable. So I'm curious what other people have been using. You misspoke at the space opera? Oh, hello. I'm all in. Love a space. Yes, please. All about it. Okay, you used to bullet journal, so you had a rough draft journal, and then you need to make it a real journal. That is very, very real. Very real. I used to bullet journal, too. This is totally Bo's fault. He left a page at the front. That really just might be where I get it from. Tapped into something there. Definitely tapped into something there. You leave one page for a title, 2 pages for a table of contents, and then try to write. I like that. I was also, when I lived in Kenya, one of the things I learned how to do was take an anthropological journal, and so how to take field notes, and I loved that system. And it's something I've always tried to replicate, but nothing will be as perfect as that one time where I had the right structure for it. Dune! Oh, I have not read Dune since I was maybe like 14, and I didn't really know what I was reading, but I just read it to be cool. So that would be such a wild reread. Oh yes, the musical about Homer's Odyssey. Yes. That has been shown to me a couple of times, and I keep forgetting that it exists. And I think that's a defense mechanism, because I will probably latch onto it too hard. And just, that would be the fandom for the time being. And so, yes, epic is the... I'm with you. I'm on the same page. So you have so many rough draft notebooks. Oh, me too. Yes, Spreading the Good Word, or the Vorkskogen saga. You read one of them as your comfort read. Ooh, okay. It's on the list. You just about always reread the first 3 Alana books and Tara. Interesting. That is such an interesting combo. Do you read them in that order, or do you read Terrier first and then have it kind of lead into the Alana books? Rebel of the Sands by Alwyn Hamilton series is really good. Okay. All right, we'll put that on a spreadsheet. Get it on the spreadsheet. You try to do Alana, Cal, Dane, and Allie, and then you try to go back for Becca. Yeah. Becca, I'm excited to read Becca because I have not given her the love that I think she deserves. I'm excited for us to dig into her together. You listen to Cal and Allie all the time. Ooh, yes. I have only listened to them once, and it's been a little while. And so I'd love to go back. You would love to watch a video on Anthro Notes. I will try to dig them up and try to do it, because they are so... I love doing that. Like the Anthro Notes. And then I have a commonplace book as well that I keep. It's not as fun or fancy. The person I'm living with, my best friend in the whole world, is an artist, like an absolutely incredible artist. And so they have the most brilliant sketchbooks. And I feel like I'm just drawing little smiley faces and stick figures while they're have these most incredible things. So I love creativity on all forms. Good for you and your strength. They discovered that it's got a stranglehold last December. Yes. Oh no. I've heard my cousin has played it for me, some of it for me, because I've been such an Odyssey nerd since Wishbone, to tell you the truth. It was Wishbone that got me. You have a feeling now that you've tracked down the Immortal Quartet, it's going to be reread a lot. Oh, yes, absolutely. It's such a good reread. Please put it in the Discord for me. Thank you. Dane Duan's So You Want to Be a Wizard series. I've heard of that. That sounds so familiar. I'm sure if I saw the cover, it would ring some bells. So what are we reading next? Brittany, yes, love it. I think we're jumping into Battle Magic. That's the next one chronologically. And so it won't be next week that we're talking about Battle Magic. It'll be the week after that. I will make a video. I promise. I will make a video explaining and putting it up. That will jump through things. I'll also share a theme that we'll talk about next week. And that way, if you want to come up with questions or quotes or examples, I really want to dig in deeper than what we've been able to do on a lot of these lives. Burnett, Battle Magic! Yeah, next week is the general talk, and then the week after is the Battle Magic. Vampire Chronicles, ooh! Yes, yes. Thank you for dropping the Discord link, so if you enjoy book club, can't get enough Tamora Pierce, head on over to the Discord. It's a really great place. There are so many. That book recommendations one, phenomenal. I'll also say our craft section, love. The pets, I'll share a photo that I got recently of the faithful I'm staying with at the moment, Smooge. I'm so excited. Dane is awesome. Yes, I'm so excited for these. So we have Battle Magic coming up. Any last things for book club this week? I'm going to take a minute, just take a second, gather myself before heading over to the Discord. Where on the Discord I would love to talk about different themes. I'll put up some of the themes I was thinking about. There are certain ones that I would love to do around different times, like around when we're talking about Mastiff. I think it would be a really good time to talk about death in Tamora Pierce's work. There are just a lot of different themes. I think gender would be really cool. So I would love to know about those different things. How's sweet Atlas doing? Atlas is doing really well. She misses me. I don't have her with me because it's a bajillion degrees where I am, and I'm bouncing all over the place. And so she is enjoying what we jokingly call her retirement, but she'll be with me soon. So I can't wait hopefully by the time we get to Tortall, she'll be a staple in the background again. As soon as you figure out Discord, you'll join. Okay, yeah, you haven't figured out how to do groups. I am learning myself. The Discord was such an exciting addition to all of this. I'm learning Discord too. I created one to be a part of it, but you can join through the link. I think I have the link in my bio as well. We would love to have you on there. Love to talk about the different magic she created in her world. Yes, I think that's a good one. And I would love to hear more about what specific things about the magic you want to talk about, like its impact, where it comes from, its intersection with religion or power as a whole. Yeah, I'm very curious. There's so many different layers to it. Yes, and once you have a profile, you copy the link and hit join. Perfect. So Magics is definitely one of them. Fantastic. Location setting, the research. See, thinking things through. I love a list. Oh, I love a list. I may be chaotic on the outside, but the inside is very... It tries. It wishes it could be in the spreadsheet form. You think a discussion on religion and how it impacts society would be fun. I completely agree with you. And I love how we're getting more bits of it in all of these so far. Because it sounds so interesting. I love the way it's kind of interwoven and how different cultures have different focuses on it. You may or may not follow them, but you love a list. Same here. Same here. I love crossing things off a list. One of the pleasures of life, for sure. Inspiration for the different magic creatures she has in her books. Might be for Dane's books. Ooh, that's a good one, too. Or even, I would argue some of Kel's, too, because I think Kel, there are a lot of reflections in Kel's book of the different animals that she's written up until that point. I think a lot of Kel's books are kind of a culmination of some of the ways that she's written animals. But I also think it makes a lot of sense with Dane's books. See, discussion religion on how accepted and non-war-torn Tammy's religions are. Yes, I think there was a little bit of tension in some of the Circle of Magic, the earlier Circle of Magic books between the two religions, I thought, in one of those books. But then in these other books, I think it would be really interesting to talk about it too. Because as we've mentioned before, in Tortall, the gods are very, very involved, comparatively. We haven't really seen divine intervention in Circle of Magic the way that we see right off the bat in Tortall. So I think that's a huge piece of it too. Your ADHD's meant you spend 3 hours making the perfect list, then accomplish nothing, but you do love them. Yeah, yep. My ADHD manifests itself that way too. Love a list, love not to follow it. Love to start making a list and then get to a thing. I'm like, oh, I could just do that right now and then do the thing and then never go back to that list again. Happens frequently. Yeah, well, except for how it affects things in the trickster books. Yes. Oh, those trickster books. You're going to need a full vid from me on the stump when we get to Cal. Yes. Oh, the stump. I have so many things to say about the stump. I did. He's such an interesting character. But also, what's too little too late? Love a character arc. Ugh, so many things. So many things. It's been a while since you've read them, and only ones you're excited for. I'm so excited for these. See, you knew I would. Yes, I'm so excited for these. I'm really glad that I'm rereading Circle of Magic. This is such a delight. This is fantastic. I honestly am going to end up rereading them again later on this year in a way, because this is not usually how I don't usually annotate and get deep into it. Sometimes I just need it to crush me like a waterfall. And so I'll probably reread all of these again in as close to one sitting as I can possibly get it. And so I have the whole view of it, and I can start making videos with a little bit more nuance when it comes to Circle of Magic. But we'll really get there. I did really immerse myself in the waterfall of the story. I'm so excited about these. These are so good so far. Battle Magic, I'm very, very excited about. This one I read when it came out, but I hadn't really read the other Circle of Magic around it, so I was just lost, and for some reason I think I thought it was part of the Tortall world. It was a mess when I read this, and so I can't wait to read it again with fresh eyes. And next time around we'll have this next book club that we'll have it on a theme, and then after that we'll do Battle Magic the week after that. You can have a brief synopsis of Battle Magic and who's that shit. I have no idea. Tamora Pierce! So glad you're here. Yes! We're finishing up Tamora Pierce book club. Oh, is it Briar? More Briar. I want them to get back together. And that's on me for not choosing Will of the Empress. That's on me. But I can't wait for them to be all together again. So Briar, Rosethorn, Evie, alright. I think they need more. I just want more. I feel greedy. That's okay. Oh, the back and put it on Discord. Yes. What part of Mage do you not understand? Asked Briar. I'm so excited for this. More Briar. More Briar. I hope his tattoos come into play. I did see we get a good dedication. We have a lovely, you know I love a map. And we get two. So I'm stoked. Stoked for this. It is like, it looks totally different. We have totally different intro pieces. I'm excited to see them. It is on me. It totally was on me. You're so excited to read it in this order. You can't remember this one anyway very well. I'm excited to be in this order too. I would have read it in publication order, and apparently people had a lot of strong feelings about that. So I'm really excited for this order, and I would love to hear why. I think that will be one of the questions that I ask is like, why this order? Because this is not what I would have done, but I love being open to it. You don't know if you've actually read it. That's all right. That's all right. This is the only one you haven't read before. Very exciting. Fantastic that it's going to be so new to so many of us. This order will be fun, but you're usually with me on the side of reading in publication order. Yes, I completely agree. You wish you could read the Tamora Pierce series for the first time again. You'll love it. I know. It's been maybe at least 15 years. At least 15 years since I read this. And so I'm excited for these rereads. This will be so good. Ugh. I love the maps. I love the maps. Same here. I wish I could, yes. There's a part of me that wishes I could reread these again for the first time, but I think the reason why I loved them so much is because I read them for the first time at such a particular moment of my life. And if I hadn't imprinted so hard in that moment, I think they would mean something completely different to me than they do now. And so as much as I would love to reread these for the first time, I would never, ever want to be 10 or 11 ever again. You can't make me. Nope. And I think that was, for me, that's what part of why these books were so powerful for me. It's been a long time, but you think things that happen in Battle Magic will be brought up in Will of the Empress. Okay. Yep, it sounds like it. Very vaguely, so Battle Magic gives us the details. Kel taught you not to snitch. That is so fair. So fair. We love Kel. I'm so excited for those rereads. Okay, so last little bits for this week's book club. I promise the YouTube is coming. The YouTubes for the past several book clubs are coming. I think everybody who's following me on there, I will start doing longer videos eventually. Eventually. I need personal life to calm down. You found Kel at 12, so you hear that. Absolutely. I think it's also like when you imprint. They're phenomenal books, but it's also when they grab you. And for me, it was at such a pivotal moment, and to see myself written in books in a way I had never seen before made all of the difference. So I'm super stoked for those. I'm really excited for these. So join the Discord. Keep on a lookout for videos in the next week or so. So you'll have the announcement around what the topic for next week is going to be. And I'll remind you about skipping the book for next week, but it'll be the week after. But please come to book club next week. If you don't follow me already, please do that. That way you can make sure that my videos show up in your feed area, and we're gonna have a great time. So last things for book club this week. The only book you haven't read is the final Becca Cooper. Ugh! I hope you'll join us. We're gonna start once we finish these Circle of Magic ones. We're gonna start doing a chronological order read of the Tortall books, starting with Becca's. And so it's looking like it'll be October 1st is when we are going to start book club with Becca's, and so we'll hope you'll join us then too. Of course, you're all in on Tamora Pierce Book Club, so you put all her books at the bottom of the stack. Thank you again for dropping the Discord link. Please join us there too. That way they won't walk away from you. That's so true. Oh yes, condolences on still having the last book of Becca's to read. It's a ride. It is a ride. Oh, this is so good. So please come join us over on Discord. Please and I hope you all are still enjoying these videos. There's still so much more I want to make and do. Again, as always, I so appreciate your patience with me. This just happens to be a really tumultuous and weird part of my life, and this is beyond the best highlight of it. And so the fact that you all keep showing up week after week and want to talk to me about my favorite author is the best. So I hope to see you all in Discord. I hope to keep seeing you all in the comments. Let's keep this up and going. Have a great week, everybody. I'll talk to you all soon.